One of the main and biggest issues with pulling this Audi engine that's seized, or any engine that's seized for that matter, is you can't rotate the engine to get to the torque converter bolts. Usually only a problem on automatic transmission vehicles, which all the Audis are usually automatic transmission, unless you have an S4 or something like that. But for this case, automatic transmission, we can't rotate it, can't get to it. So in this video, I'll be showing you guys how to remove a seized Audi A6 engine. This 3.0 is used in a lot of platforms, and for some reason, I'm seeing a lot of these engines seized. I would love to hear you guys' comments and speculations down below on why you think these engines lock up. I currently have two Audi A6s with a 3.0 with a seized engine in my driveway right now. And I have two more on Marketplace that I really want to go pick up, but I'm trying to figure it out. Let's go ahead and start yanking this engine out because I got a lot to show you guys. So if you're thinking, dang, he really skipped a bunch of stuff here, don't worry. I have another video on how to get to this spot right here, linked right here on a different Audi A6. It gives you all the tips and tricks to get your car in the front carrier position. In this situation, I need to remove mine completely because the engine cannot come straight out. It has to come this way because of the torque converter has to be pulled with it, unfortunately. So once you watch that video and get your car to this position, before we start taking out these bolts and everything, we got a lot more to do. Me personally, I'm just going to attempt to see if I can keep the Freon in this. I'm going to take this condenser, I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to keep it connected, and we're just going to try to pin it to the side right here to see if I can keep it out of the way. If it doesn't work, then I'll drain the Freon somehow, but I just don't want to deal with the Freon. I hate dealing with it. Either way, do what you want with that part. Before that, you'll have to remove your power steering cooling lines. These are going to be fun. This is your power, some sensor, I think, maybe to tell you how hot your power steering is getting, but this is your cooling line for your power steering right there. You will have to remove this coolant line. This is like the supercharger radiator pretty much. So you'll have to remove that coolant line and drain it, and also that coolant line and drain it from right in there. So pretty self-explanatory on removing those. And you don't have to go removing all the clips right here because luckily Audi made it. You can just remove this one clip and everything will be ready. So got to remove those lines. And then of course on this side, I'm gonna walk you guys through all this, but coolant line's gotta come off. And on the other side, there's the transmission lines that I was telling you about. So keep in mind, when you're taking the front carrier off, if you gotta get this engine out, you're gonna be draining coolant, you're gonna be taking out power steering fluid, and you're gonna have automatic transmission fluid spill out when you take off the cooling lines to the radiator. So make sure you got containers on standby for all of those. Other than that, I'm just gonna take you guys on step-by-step of how I get this engine out. So in my situation, because I wanna keep this condenser connected and just attempt to see if it works, I'm going to remove these two Torx, remove this clip and undo this line, and then take these plastics off and see if we can flip it around there. Before we get started on anything, guys, this should be self-explanatory, but make sure you have a full Torx set. I don't care if you have a cheap one, I don't care if you have a snap-on one, I don't care what you have, link in the description. Make sure you have every single Torx size, promise you'll need them. And you'll 100% need a set of triple squares. If you don't know what triple squares are, Audi's gonna make you learn. They love to put these in random places and they use Torx everywhere. So you need these or you can't do nothing. Link in the description. Besides labeling and putting in bag screws, I put the screws back in the holes any chance I get along this whole entire build. One of my best tips right here, guys. You can pull the plug or just push the whole thing out if you don't want to deal with it. Next, I want to get this little plastic cover out of the way because it's hiding some of the bolts I need to get to. You only have to do this part. Remember, if you disconnected your Freon lines, don't worry about this part and you can just remove your whole core forward. It's okay for it to sit. I'm just trying to get these bolts exposed. Same thing. I'll just throw these screws right back in so I know where they go. This will be easier if we remove this power steering line first, so we're actually gonna do that. This is a T30 down here. A mile long. Remember, put it back. Just a little bit. Now we got those plastics off. And now this. So we're gonna disconnect the hoses on this next and unbolt it. Now we're trying to remove these cooling lines. Not so fun, bunch of stuff up in the middle. These two lines right here are what need to be removed, and they have these annoying clamps on them. Right there. Alright, so now we gotta remove these lovely clamps. The best way I do is I slide some cutters in there and try to cut this guy. It's a very tight spot. You can use a Dremel to do this as well. You know what, I think this clamp already gave. Alright, make sure you get it cut like that. Once it's cut, you can open them up, and then that hose will come up. Have a drip pan nearby so you can catch the fluid coming out. Alright, well that's draining. We're gonna remove this coolant line right here. If we remove this line right here, it'll give us more access to the bottom hose over here. So this one's easy to release, but sometimes a pain in the ass to take off. You only need to pop it up to there. Usually on these, if you take a flathead and a rubber mallet and just carefully tap this back, it'll usually break free. So now I got a little more access to get up to that clamp. So same thing, see if we can't. There is a tool for this. Obviously with limited space, it's a little more challenging. Alright, sorry, that one was very challenging to get off and hold the camera, and my tripod won't fit in here, so let's see if I can. A bunch of stuff in my eye too, it's always fun. All right, now those are disconnected. That was a fun time. If you're doing this job, you'll agree that was a fun time. The best is yet to come, guys. Gotta switch over to the black gloves. Clean my eyeballs out. Take your little bucket of juice. This should have some fluid in it. There it goes. So with all that disconnected, now we have access to the condenser. Again, only have to do this if you're trying to keep your Freon in there, and this is just an attempt to see if I can do it. When you disconnect these Torx on this side and these bolts on this side, keep in mind the supercharger intercooler or supercharger radiator, whatever you want to call it, is also going to be there. So you're going to want to put the bolts back and move this AC condenser to the side. Let's hop into it. So now this should be free to come right out. Luckily it's very light. I'm just going to set this down gently for 1 second. I'm just going to throw this back on because throw these back on so you don't forget where they go. So this, my goal is, I just want to move it out of the way. So look, it's completely cleared of the way, so I don't have to drain my Freon. And I can leave it laying right here. I'm gonna put some cardboard around it so my daughter doesn't mess with it, nothing gets on it. I might tie it up. Either way, that's gonna be out of the way for the most part, and I can move it around as needed, so good stuff. Now, we're pretty much ready to take this off. One more cooling line and the 2 transmission lines, and then we can take this whole core off. All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna get to this coolant line. First, we'll get to this. This is your hood latch release. There's a little clip. Oh, well, there's supposed to be a little clip on the back.
That's actually important to fix when you put back in. You don't want this coming disconnected. You'll have a hell of a time opening up your hood here. So gotta make sure I fix that. But either way, oopsie. Didn't mean to bend you, mate. Then we're gonna end up removing this guy, popping this guy off. There's another plug right here. The plastic is so brittle here in Vegas. It doesn't even want to let me have the plug. It would rather just break. All right, so there's one fan plug right here that you'll have to disconnect as well. And let's go ahead and remove this coolant line right here. I feel like the best way is probably to come through here with a pick, and you can grab, see if I can get that. You see how I come through there with this pick, and then grab this clip. Oops. Remember, just to right there. You don't got to go up any further. I'm gonna do the same thing as before because I just like this method. If you do it hard, you can crack it, but if you're gentle, we can just tap this off of here. It'll eventually go. All right, so that's disconnected now. I'm just gonna leave that right there. We're gonna take the reservoir off and all that stuff later. We're just getting the front clip all the way out of the way. Let's go to the transmission lines. We gotta get this big old plug out of the way right here. See that guy? Pull this red tab backwards. I think. Just work that like that. And then, all right. There's that plug. Now we just got this coolant line and the trans lines, which I think I'm gonna disconnect here. It just looks a lot easier, and then this whole line can come out with this. We'll find out. You guys will watch my struggle and learn from my mistakes, so let's go. These lines, I think this is a 19 and that's a 22. If you guys want to see more on this box, I didn't buy it. I'll leave a link right here. It's got what I need though, and I'm forever grateful. I believe just this side spins, folks. This side just kind of holds still. Oh, wrong way. Ready? Boom. Before it starts leaking, get on this other side. Oh, it's gonna start leaking anyways. That stuff is brown. It needs to get changed anyways. Gross. All right, transmission flush incoming. I do got a video too, guys, right here if you guys want to check out the how to flush the transmission on these cars. There we go. See, really not that bad. This is way easier than dealing with those other bolts up there. This can stay with the front carrier. So a bunch of tips and tricks in this video. Learning as I go here. It's my first 3.0 I've actually pulled out. Believe it or not. Now, of course, we got this coolant line right there. All right, here you go. Picks for the win every time. So as you can see, that clip is up now. Same method with the screwdriver and hammer. All right, so I finally got it broken free, but guys, this thing got mangled. This thing was extremely stuck, and one of my least favorite tasks to do is break free coolant lines. So yeah, this one got a little messed up. It might be savable. Maybe. All right, let's get this front carrier off. Now we got everything disconnected. It is time to remove these 13mm bolts right here. Now on this last bolt, don't take it all the way out. I'm gonna leave it right there, okay? Slide over here. All right, thanks Audi. Now I can almost pull the engine. Wait a minute, I forgot something. So I forgot on the bottom, there's these little brackets. You can either undo the bracket from there or undo the bracket from there. All right, now it's ready for removal. I actually had an issue. I removed this once already, and the engine was sitting on the snub mount, so I had to put a jack underneath it. One of my mounts has moved over here, so very unique to my situation. Now that this is all unbolted, you should be able to grab it from the sides and be prepared for all these lines to leak. Like you'll probably leak out of here, you'll leak down here. This whole thing's gonna leak when you pull it out. It just is what it is. I'm just bringing it over here to get it on some cardboard. And now thanks Audi. Now we can get to an engine. Yay. This is how bad this is seized. Nothing. Nothing. No matter which. I mean, that's a breaker bar. It won't even rotate. Fun times. So we've made it this far in a journey. Now we're to the fun part. Next, we're going to be removing the coolant tank and some of these hoses. We're going to remove this air intake. We're going to get this front belt removed and the belt behind it removed because the power steering pump is most likely going to stay over here, and the AC condenser also needs to be disconnected before I yank this engine out. That's the only two things from up there, and then we'll get to the backside stuff right after all that. All right, so I'm going to remove this this reservoir tank next, and we're going to keep a lot of these lines connected just because it's easier. So I'm going to take off this little guy right down here first. Just in case coolant spills out, get that bucket ready. But I'm pretty sure we're dry. Cool. So I'm going to keep this connected to the coolant reservoir tank. Probably keep it connected here if it lets me take this off right here. So let's grab a pick real quick. Sorry about that. I got multiple cameras going. And this one I got to edit, and this one I got to live stream on. So fun times. But you guys will see the full video soon. This is like if you guys want to ask questions or anything like that. But to be honest, I doubt anybody will even join. It's all gravy though. They'll see it later. Usually full of good information, so now we got to play with this one. Guys, if you do a live stream and no one tunes into it, don't worry. Don't stress about it. To be honest, like my videos don't get a lot of views off top, so it's more like they get searched for later. But I'm here when you need me. Come on, play nice. Oh, I moved the bucket from right there too, of course. Of course I did. Move the bucket, spilled the coolant. All right. Makes it fun. And if you guys got questions too, feel free to drop them in the comments. I do check every once in a while when I look over. Let's see how many shortcuts we can take on this thing. Aha. Then we're going to remove this clip down here too, because again, I'm keeping this whole thing together. I'm trying to remove the least amount of parts possible, because it just makes it easier to install. And then, so as you can see, look, the coolant reservoir is connected, the hose is connected, coolant's going everywhere. But overall, that's all in one piece, then you don't gotta guess where all the hoses go and deal with all that. Oh, I guess disconnect your sensor too before you yank it out like an idiot. Fun times. Another challenging thing, like if you're in a rush or you're trying to do something, you're trying to get it done and you gotta record it, it's so hard to record when you're frustrated. But over the years, I just learned to keep on going. Because someday, my video will help somebody, somewhere. And that's all I do this for. I just do this to help other people because paying a mechanic is expensive. And I had to learn myself because I couldn't afford it when I was younger, so. Come on, be nice to me. I'm trying to be nice to you. I'm trying to give you a new engine. Oh, look at that. I wonder if I broke that or if it was like that. Looks like it's gonna be time to upgrade the intake, huh? The budget that you set is never the budget you will keep for these things, I swear. It's about $2,500 for a new engine. Not even a new one, a used one. Dang, I could almost just leave the airbox in there and still pull the motor. Well, we're already here. And she's dirty. All right, we want to remove this fuel line. And it's likely gonna just leak out some gas. Oh, that hurt. Ah, right on the corner. Scuba Steve. Damn you. Oh man, that's gonna leave a bruise. Squeak, squeaky. All right, spray gas everywhere. You know you want to. Ah, I'm scared. I've had these shoot some high pressure before, but don't have a way to drain it the right way. Try to keep the fuel line up so we don't get a bunch of gas out. Let's see if I can find a plug for it. All right, so we're just gonna take this belt off now. Just release that tension. Ooh, it's glued on there. Ugh. Dusty. That's all we gotta do there. Belt off. Solid. Oh, it's spun on me. That's the worst. T30s. All right, so these lines, same thing. I'm gonna try to keep everything connected here, so I'm just gonna tuck these to the side if it allows me to, because I just need this out of the way of the engine. I don't really need to actually disconnect anything. I just need this out. Just give me the engine, man. So we're gonna try to just position that right like that. I'll zip tie it if I need to later. Crusty. And there's a little pin you can stick in here if you're servicing it, but we're just removing this. And if you're doing jobs like this and you're not recording, take pictures. It's great references for where the belt goes. It's quite the belt. What kind of stuff you got going on here, Audi? Yo! So, pretty dumb design here. I can't get this belt out because this pulley and this pulley are pretty much overlapping, so gotta unbolt this, which someone did the kind job of stripping out for me before I got here. So this is where I was saying you guys are gonna need triple squares. See how it was like a 16 millimeter, a 17 millimeter. We got Torx over here. We got triple squares right here, triple squares right here, a different size Torx right here. Like, they're insane. And if you're working on a car that someone's already been there, a lot of the times clips will be broken or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, stop recording. If you are going to use a tool, because this one's kind of stuck, don't push right here. I recommend, if you guys can see in there, there's like a little tiny tab, and you can kind of pull it back with this pick. Come on, GoPro, don't fail me now. Either way, little tab, you'll see it pull back with that pick, and you can kind of push down with one hand even. And that undoes that one. That undoes that. Now you got the whole down part off, this part disconnected. We're gonna remove these Torx and remove all of these, and then we're gonna start working back through here. This one's already broken. This one's still there. Just gentle with them, and this one. And just push down gently. Remember my tip from before, even the smallest screws count. Put all of them back where you find them. I don't think I have any bolts laying around right now. This prevents so much headache in the end, guys, I promise. This one connects on the underside, so just grab it with your thumb, gently pull back. This is like a little plastic pull tab underneath, so we'll get that released here shortly. So then on these clips right here, these are also connected to the same wire harness. So see if we can get all these removed. So the way I do that is there's this tab right here. So you guys can push this part all you want and hurt your fingernail, go for it. I don't prefer that. If you could just get back here and pull this little tab off, it releases so much easier. So I hope that helps anybody. Hope my videos help anybody, and I hope my advice helps you there, partner. Some areas are just too tight, you can't do that, but almost all. Picks are like my favorite tool. I think I can get this one too. I think I hooked this one too. Let's see. Yep. Little pick action. Alright, so you see how this red plug right here, you can't really get to it? So what we're gonna do is come with a screwdriver. See if we can't liberate this one. I don't want to break them either, but gotta get it out of there, right? We're almost there. There we go. Great success. And now you can get to that, which again, we're gonna use a pick for. See? One more time for y'all. Just get that little tab open. It's so much harder to push on this, right? Especially if you got big hands. I got small hands, but if you got big hands and you can't get your hands in there, quit fighting it and get yourself a nice set of picks and learn how to finesse that real nice like that. So now we got that whole wire harness disconnected. The only thing holding it is there's like a little connector down there. You should be able to squeeze both sides underneath it. No, I think this one's, yeah, I heard that one be crispy. I heard the crispiness of that one and knew it was a goner, so you can replace those with zip ties or buy the part. Same thing with that little tab. I don't even mess with these clips anymore, guys. I just do it that way. So I'm just gonna tuck that down there, see? It'll get pulled out with the engine and be out of the way, not a problem. Now that we have the passenger side done, we're gonna work on the driver's side here. So obviously I'm realizing different if you're in another country, so either way, we're working on this side. So we'll probably start from the bottom to the top. And as you can see, that guy is gross. Another reason these picks are handy. Ew. Oh. Oh, that's fantastic. Thanks, Gear Wrench. To be fair, that's their old design. This is their newer and improved design, but either way. Oh, it's a little shorter. But let's see if we can get behind that. I always advise against doing what I'm doing right now because usually it breaks the clip. But that one came off. So it's extremely greasy and you don't want to get your hands on that one. So this is to the AC condenser. And then I think we have one running back here to the power steering pump, which means I gotta get underneath the car. All right, so following that wire all the way to the engine mount right here, I have this shape pick. There we go, that one's off. Then it looks like you have one more wire split on that pigtail, and that is coming down to, what's this, the auxiliary water pump. We're gonna pull a little alligator clip off. All right, that's pretty much everything there. So you got the AC condenser, the auxiliary pump, and the motor mount, and that undoes those. Next, we're going to obviously follow these wires up here. Going to disconnect. This is the coolant temp sensor, I believe. So if I am going to use my nail, I'll push down first. It relieves the pressure on that, and then I'll use my nail. That one's easy. You can just take that one into your fingernail. See if it'll give us this plug. Oh, look, someone broke that one off too. Guys, how do you break the easiest clip on a whole entire car? Like, that's the easiest one. This is the easiest one. Never mind, I'm not even gonna question. See, that one just released because I pushed up on it. And now I can pull out. That one's already broken. That one's already broken too. How nice, someone helped me do half my work for me. Oh, people are such wonderful people. Yours might have a zip tie right here, guys. This zip tie up here, the zip tie up here is just holding the O2 sensor to the wiring harness. So you can go ahead and cut that. If you have this coolant line removed, it'll be easier. I'm just being stubborn. But gently and eventually, you pull it out. And that goes that whole side. We'll tie that up so it doesn't fall down. There you go, that all put up away over there. And you got one more harness coming back here to the back. I'm gonna remove this little line over here next to get this out of the way. Still determining if I have to remove the charger yet to get to some more of the wires back there. It might be easier, let's find out. So for this guy, it just pops off like this. There's a clip connector in the back. Super easy to take off. And I'm just going to take this and fold it over here. Again, keeping as much stuff connected as possible. When you're putting the engine back together, everything kind of falls back into place. Trusty little pick. See if you can see it back there. Where are we at? Right there. We gotta get this clip. So you can do like that too, you just have the center to wedge it, and you can pull the clip off. Look at all that wire harness we got free. So that's up and out of the way for the most part. So you gotta follow this all the way down here. And then right here, there's like a little T-fitting. It's one-handed, yeah. It'll pop out like that, and then you gotta take it off this vacuum pump right here, because this is what runs the vacuum in the vehicle. Pop that free from there, and you can just set the whole line to the side. And it looks like we need to remove this and remove that, because that runs back way down there deep. So now that this is free, gentle with these, you don't want to break them. I'm pretty sure you're able to remove the supercharger. I'm not 100% certain if I need to remove the supercharger, but it does appear that it gives me more room to work back there, so that's what I'm gonna do. So everything's pretty free, except I have these little Torx inside right here that are just hating on me, man. So yeah, gotta remove these little covers off the side. Pretty self-explanatory, it's just a little Torx. What's that, a little Torx T20. Alright, let's see what we're stuck on now. And if you're doing this like me, you want to do it very gently, because if you're stuck on a wire or anything like that, you don't want to just yank it off and break it. So oh, and I caught it in the bucket too. Yeah, supercharger started leaking. It will leak out of that port. Friendly service reminder. Left it out. I'll put this little plug in to stop it for just a second, but if we're disconnected, Feels like something catching, but maybe it's just these vacuum lines. Just don't want to break anything more than I need to. It's just heavy. All right, there's a supercharger. So at this point we got the supercharger taken off. Got to sit down over there for now. I want to continue getting this wire harness out of the way. I just want to be done with the wire harness, make sure it's all disconnected. So there is a couple more little plugs back here. There's this interesting little guy right here. He should be easy enough though. These clips are easy to remove. So put your nail on the back of the clip if you can and pull this little guy out right there, right off this back sensor. Alright, so you can kind of see this little clamp, clasp, whatever you want to call it. So the next thing holding this, you can see this little black tab right there. You might be able to use a pick, otherwise you'll have to use a pair of pliers. But yeah, you can see why picks are my favorite tools. So that's done. Closer and closer to freedom. We got a couple more wires back here. Let's see if I can get you guys a better view. This one's very challenging to see, but right down in that slot, there's a little clip right here for another sensor. We got to get that off. I'm likely going to just break this off because it's already broken. I need to replace this whole entire piece, and that is just easier to do so. And also, I want to remove this vacuum line just because it keeps getting in the way. So bear with me one moment. There's no way to get the camera in there to show. Oh, wait. And that vacuum line connects right down there. Sorry, that's a very tight spot. All right, sorry for the shoddy camera work there. So that'll be how that guy goes in, right? Future reference. Put this over with some more vacuum lines. Boom. So this line is really in my way. So you can kind of just snap that off. I gotta replace that anyways. Look, someone's had to repair it already. But these things get very brittle. They break super easy. And that will never fix it, guys. It'll always have a vacuum leak if you do this. If you smoke test it after doing some shit like this, it'll be a vacuum leak. All right, take out the screw. Move this if it's in your way. It's in my way. Ew. The chunks falling through in there. Gross. Gives us a lot more access to that plug right there. Now we can likely there we go. That's the plug you want. Just the coolant line gets in the way a little bit. I think we're getting closer, and we're getting closer. Oh yeah, there's some kind of ground connection back here. I think right around the corner, you can probably see that little bolt right there. We gotta get that guy off too. All right, I thought I was recording, but there's a little bracket down here these two prongs, and that holds these clips right here. Pop these off. This is going to give you much more room to operate down here. Okay. It is really hard to record and do this, but you guys get the idea. Do that same pick trick. Pull it out if you want some more room. Ping, got that one too. So you don't need to come through and disconnect all these. So when you get the supercharger off, don't go disconnecting all these now, because the harness for this folds right in, and this all stays here too, so don't sweat it. We're getting closer. Now we got more room for that little, all that room for activities down there now. So our next objective here, that bolt. Oh, you're lying. I was just twisting around. I'm gonna break the wire. Isn't that lovely? All right, that's all twisted, and every time I twist that, that part wants to come off with it. So basically, it's already broken. There's no saving this, and I gotta redo it. So I already gotta rewire that. Not a big deal. That one's really easy to do. All right, guys, here, check this out. That plug is held in by a bunch of, like a bolted clip kind of thing down there. Don't worry about it. Look, all this is disconnected from the engine now. None of that's touching. All of it's hanging, gives you plenty of room. You don't really need to pull that whole entire plug out. You can probably even leave it plugged in if you'd like. So let's see if that theory is true. One of the things we're gonna have to work on next is getting that coolant line popped off. When you pop this coolant line, it's gonna leak a lot. So make sure you have a drip pan underneath. And I did just disconnect this O2 sensor wire, and I just stuck the O2 sensor wire down here. I'm gonna pull those with the engine. And of course we have this coolant line to disconnect, and we're getting really close. Before we pop that coolant line in the back, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this pulley because there's bolts right back here, and I gotta get this pump up and out of the way. I'm hoping it's just gonna be able to tuck right in there so I don't gotta disconnect all the lines. So we're going to disconnect this, and there is also, see this little vacuum line right here? This vacuum line runs all the way up, supercharger, all that fun stuff. So it should disconnect just by pushing this clip in firmly and then pulling it out. All right, now we got that disconnected. Once we pop off this coolant hose, we can pull it safely out of the way, which we'll do. Probably do it afterwards because this is gonna leak coolant everywhere, and I just wanna get this done, so. See if I get lucky, if it just pops off. There is a tool for this. There is a tool for this, and the tool will go in these little holes while you turn it. But if you just use an impact, it should pop right off. And try not to use a Torx bit here, guys. Make sure you're using the appropriate triple square. They will strip out if you don't. If you get lucky, sometimes this will just pull right off. Nice. Same thing as always, I'll put those bolts right back in just so I don't forget them. This is a smaller triple square. This is going to be an M8. Make sure it fits very snug. You can pull the engine with the pump too. You can just take off this hose and disconnect that over there and just leave the pump over there. I might need this pump still, so I'm just going to disconnect it and put it over there. There's two of, I think, 4 bolts. Another one is like inside here, going this way. I'll try to get you guys a good angle of it. So there's a bolt right there. Yeah, you can see the head right there. That's a triple square as well. And you get to it by using an extension. And you come in at an angle like this. You know, it might be easier with the AC condenser removed. And I gotta remove the AC condenser anyways. So let's just jump into pulling this off really quick. It's only 4 bolts, and we'll lower this out the way. AC condenser is pretty self-explanatory. There's only 4 bolts. They're all on this side. Sorry if it seems like I'm jumping around. This is actually my first time pulling this engine, and I got no manual or how-to guide or nothing like that. I am the how-to guide. See if he'll let me get it off with my trusty little guy. Yeah, buddy. It's a mile long bolt. Alright, so there's not 4 bolts, there's only 3 bolts. One's on the bottom right there. And another one is right on the back side right there. I'll zoom in. So hopefully you guys can catch it on the camera. But yeah, gotta take those 2 off. I'm using an extension with a swivel on the end of it. So let's see if they come off. Alright, so you might have to push down on that hose just a little bit on the oil cooler. So if you left your AC condenser like this, you can just move it out of the way. It's light, easy to move. And there must be one more holding it in somewhere, so maybe there is 4. That's fine. Okay, so not at all. There's just the 3 bolts. This little metal piece kind of just sits in there. So as soon as I touched it without the camera recording, it of course fell down. So see if I can work this out and get it to a safe place down here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this zip tie right here. There we go. All right. So now the AC condenser can just lay safely out of the way, and I can still put that right over it. Perfect. With the AC condenser and this removed, gives you a lot more access to the triple square right there. We need that triple square, and there's one more on the backside somewhere. So. Alright, so now we have run into, you guys can kind of see the socket back there. We've run into the problem down here where there's no room for a ratchet. So I'll show you guys how to get this off when there's no room for a ratchet. You can either use like a handheld bit or a wrench on this one should work. So let's grab a wrench real quick. So you can take a wrench, I have a ratcheting wrench that fits on this, and now we're gonna stick that same tool up in there like that. Alright, so we got it in. Now the trick is breaking it free with no leverage. If you want to get that bolt out a little easier, you can lift up on the power steering pump, and then that should give you a little more leverage to be able to open, or to be able to unscrew it like that. This is like one of the tightest spots. Alright, there's that bolt. That'll do it on those. Remember these 2 go in the front, this round one goes on the bottom, flat one goes on the back side. So now with that off, I should be able to tuck this into the corner, maybe undo this reservoir if I need to, just to get this up and out of the way without having to disconnect the lines. Next, I'm going to undo this coolant line and try to see if we can get this vacuum line out. See if we can pull this vacuum line out just so we can isolate it from breaking, but there we go. So that will come out, that way you can just get that guy out of the way. Coolant line next. And I might have to disconnect these hoses so everything pushes back in here. As usual, take a trusty pick. Someone put sealant inside this thing? Oh man, the jobs that the guys did on this car before. Remember to have a bucket below because this one will 100% leak. And this is plastic, so don't hit this too hard. You can wiggle yours off if you can get it with your hand. I just don't even like messing with them because experience. It's never been good. Come on, be nice and let go. It's gonna go. Just a little metal bracket. If you've made it this far, that's self-explanatory. Alright, goal here is to get all this stuff to live up in here in peace and harmony. And this little guy wants to be a hater. Dang. Why you gotta do me like, I'm not removing the crossover pipe to do this. That's insane. I just want the power steering pump up and out of the way. That's not too much to ask. All right, so if you're a little forceful, you can get it. And then let's pull this bottle up. Move all this up. Look at that. Right out of the way. So I think we're making pretty good progress so far. This is the first time pulling out this engine again as a reminder. I'm just doing it the best way I think it should go, basically. So let's get this top coolant hose removed. Next part is getting this coolant hose removed back here. So this one's gonna be challenging to record. You can remove this, what is this, a combi hose, combi tube right here. You can remove this tube to get you more access. I think I can finagle it. It goes downwards right here. So I have to stick my pick in, where I think it's gonna be, and then there. I was able to fully release that clip, and now we just gotta wiggle this off. Make sure you have a pan underneath, because this is gonna get gross right here. So we're gonna try the same trick here, because I can get this screwdriver down here, I'm pretty sure. Right on there. Let's see if I can tap this off there. All right, so after a few taps, just like the rest of them, it'll come off. It's just gonna spill a little coolant out. Push it down and get all of it out, and then that you can kind of just leave back in there. Next, we're gonna be able to start removing these bell housing bolts. We're gonna do the top few that we can get to. And then we're gonna work on removing these exhaust studs right here, getting the whole top end ready before we drop down to the bottom and disconnect the bottom down here. Let me just make sure I got this on camera. We're going after this bolt next. And directly underneath this wire harness, mine's a little dirty, we're gonna go after this bolt as well. We're gonna remove these two bolts right here. It's hard to show right in there, but they are 16 millimeters, and I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna be able to fit this wrench right down in here. I'll just come back in with the trusty Milwaukee because I don't want to sit here and spin. Oh, that little hose. That one's out. I like to just leave my bolts hanging. Main reason being is I know exactly where they go. They don't need to come out all the way as long as they're disconnected from the engine. Now let's move on to the header bolts. All right, so I almost missed it. There's one more bolt right over here, see on the mirror? right underneath. It'll be a 16mm as well. Pretty much right there. Looks like there is one more bolt we can get to from the top right here. And it's just right below the oil filter housing on that far right side. Hooked up right there, hopefully y'all can see it. And that's the bolt right there that I'm talking about. Alright, same thing, I'll leave that one right in there. I'm just about to end my night here, so I highly recommend, before you guys go on to the header bolts down here, you give them a little spray of some PB Blaster. It'll help. All right, just a quick summary in case I missed it. So far we have everything disconnected on this side except the header bolts, which have been soaked in PB Blaster. And with everything disconnected on this side, AC condenser, power steering pump, and I'm working on the header bolts on this side too, soaking in PB Blaster. One more on top. All right, so there's my setup. I got the socket wrench on there, kind of at an angle like this. Probably the best way to get the top ones. Remember, soak these in PB Blaster too. It's going to make it just a lot easier. And there's that. I mean, should be able to like take this off with your fingers pretty much now. This is the setup I'm using. I'm sure a swivel will work if you don't have like the X-core type sockets. It's not necessary. Let's go ahead and hop on over to the other side. Do that same thing, guys, but I would love to show you. However, someone was already here and they broke this off before I could even get to it. So I'm sure this had a terrible exhaust leak. All right, so this is kind of stripped, so I'm gonna use a box end on it. And all right, my camera may have cut off, the battery died, but got this strip nut out, used a box wrench on it, or a ratcheting wrench, and then got it done. So now both of the headers are unbolted free. I think the only thing I have left is some bolts on the bottom of the engine, and also this engine mount holding it in. These next ones are an 8mm hex, and they are kind of in a pain in the ass position, but this setup will get you the 8mm hexes out of this 3.0. Let's get in there. So I want to point out, yes, this is in a way, but it's minimal. If you have the engine hoist, the legs are going to be in here, and I do have an engine cradle, but I'd have to take the cradle off eventually, so it's a hassle. So either way, I'm working around the jack. Come under here, and remember guys, this was already taken out before I even bought the car. I towed it home without this engine mount in because he thought the starter was bad. Starter's not bad, it just won't turn a seized engine. So the starter was already removed and this mount before I started, but pretty self-explanatory if you've made it this far. Next we have these hex bolts right here, and there's a few along the bottom. So we're gonna go ahead and break these 8mm hex heads free now. All right, careful not to go too far, or you'll back this into the oil pan. Oh, see? Just like I just did. Sometimes I can be a real idiot, look at that. That's funny. So now I just reversed it with a pick. Oh no, I didn't. Just yank it out, whatever. These ones I will slide all the way out. Look how dirty they are, gross. All right, we got those removed on the bottom side. Now I have one more bolt right here by the transmission lines. And I'll just leave that one in there as well too. Slide it back a little bit. All the bell housing bolts are out, and now I just have this one last engine mount, which you can take out this whole entire mount right here. You can take out just this part, you can take out this. Completely up to you. That is all I need to take this out. I'll just use the supercharger bolts here. Throw a washer on there. All right, so we got the engine ready to pull. We just got the bolts, or we just got nuts with some washers on the engine here, on the heads, I guess you'd call it. I'll leave a link below to this, but you can find this at Harbor Freight, guys, just like the engine lift. These are very helpful. You could use a chain, sure, but as you can see, pretty helpful. Everything's disconnected on this side completely, and I do believe this engine mount kind of separated itself because it's already bad. So I just need to unbolt this from the bottom, which I'll probably just unbolt the one bolt here and then just pick it up a little bit up here. We'll see. But either way, I'm just gonna pop this off really quick, pick however you wanna do it, and then I'm pretty sure this engine is ready to be pulled. All right, sorry for the noise, my compressor's on, but pump it a few times up, and this engine mount was actually broken, so it's gonna slide right out just like so, completely toasted. Now we are ready. Pretty much slide this whole engine forward and get it on that table over there. Table's ready to drop on it. This is all hooked up. Guys, I do have a jack down here supporting the transmission to just relieve some of the tension. Because remember, we have to slide this whole thing out, so that's what we'll be doing next. What if it just slid right out for me? Wouldn't that be sweet, guys? Oh my god, this is too easy! When you're doing this, you want to make sure nothing's connected in the back, obviously. I have so much freedom with this motor, though. Look at this, I think we are in action here. Just like that, folks. And that's how you pull a Seized 3.0 supercharged engine. All right, so we got this all ready to go. Now my main problem here is, guys, if you have a seized engine and the torque converter is still connected, this is your issue you're gonna run into. You're gonna have these bolts that you don't have any access to right here. There's no way to really flex this out. I don't really have another solution other than we're gonna pull this oil pan and we're gonna pull the lower girdle, and we're going to disconnect the rod bearings on the crank until we can get this rotated so that we can access these bolts through the right access hole. So pretty much that's the only way I found to get this off. If you guys have a better method, please leave a comment down below. If this video helped you and you're still watching, I mean, feel free to buy me a beer, buy me a coffee. There's a super chat option in the video here for you guys. Really show some support. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and I just do it to show you guys how to avoid the dealerships and how to avoid taking your car to the shop, you know what I mean? Like, I did this at home with just a lift, just some jack stands, and some slippers. I mean, I got some flip-flops on. I did the whole thing. So this is doable. You can do it. Just take your time, have the right tools, watch this video, Check out the next one, guys. This is going to be a 3-part series. In the next video, we're going to show why this engine failed and also the complete teardown of this engine. I'll eventually have it linked right here in the corner for you guys of why this failed and how to get this torque converter off, basically, is going to be the next video. And then, of course, the third video will be putting the engine back in. Or if I choose to rebuild the engine, I'll have a video for you guys on that. I appreciate all you guys' support. Until next time, thank you.